are three things in life that you can depend on. Dan Hurley complaining about officiating, one and done bringing the heat on a Sunday night, and John Cena being a babyface. What was that? Oh. There are two things you can depend on in life. Dan Hurley complaining about officiating and one and done bringing the heat on a Sunday night. Mike joins me to break down the week that was in college basketball right now, recording live from somewhere. This is One and Done.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Once again, for everybody to come aboard that One and Done train. Welcome to One and Done. Bienvenidos a todos a One and Done, your fast break of college basketball información. We are powered by the galaxy's greatest website, and that's drroto.com. I am your sometimes humble. We'll say sometimes humble host. My name is Jay Heinrich, and I happen to be the conductor of the aforementioned One and Done train. Find me on X at Dr. William Cannon. Follow me, and I'll follow you back. Joining me tonight to break down the week that was, is El Capitan himself, the captain of the One and Done ship at MC Holland 34 on X, the OG Money Mike, Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here, a couple weeks before Selection Sunday. It's time.
Literally a couple of weeks. Like this time in 2 weeks, we'll be talking about matchups. So, yeah, that's how close we are, man. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, it was a great week. Man, lots of stuff going down that we're going to get into. Congrats out there to Forklift Jeremy for winning on the DFS side.
Boy, Jeremy.
Fourth One and Done Invitational this year. We'll probably fire one up on Tuesday's slate. So, for all our DFS players out there, get ready for that. But this show, man, we're going to be talking bubble. We're going to be talking about all the power conferences and kind of the week that was. So I'm excited.
We're going to talk about all these conferences, do a little bubble watch as well. You know, we like to talk about the bubble watch. We're going to do that. We're also going to interact with the live chat, the liveliest live chat in all the land of college basketball. Starting with Michael. Evening. Good sir, thanks for joining us in here in our, steadfast commenter and social media interactor, Darren E. hopping in there. You know we bring in the fire. Darren knows to drop the fire emojis in the live chat. We hope you do too. Hit that subscribe button while you're here. We've seen a nice boost in March, or as March has approached, is sort of, maybe you're new to the show. Maybe you're just stumbling upon some college basketball content because it's March. Well, we do this stuff year round. We do this stuff 365 days a year. So if you like college basketball, make sure you push all those buttons, the notification bell, like, subscribe. One and Done College Basketball, WON and Done College Basketball on YouTube. He did win by fading broom. Congrats to Forklift Jeremy.
That never happens when I try it.
The last time that I played, I missed this last one. I've been out of commission for a few days, but the one before that, the third one, I was the only person in the entire invitational that played Cooper Flag. I'm pretty sure that I was the only one that did it. So that obviously did not win me any money a couple of times ago, but it did give me that distinction. So congratulations to me for not winning anything. But congratulations to Forklift Jeremy, and congratulations to you for finding the best college basketball content in all the land here on One and Done. Let's get to this week that was, Mike, starting in the SEC. Bunch of Saturday action there in what has turned into the best conference in college basketball. Some storylines cooking here as we approach Selection Sunday. Let's just start. Tennessee, buzzer beater, sinking Bama. Texas collapses at home. Don't get me started. Arkansas collapsed at South Carolina. Florida handled Texas A&M at home as they were expected to do. Vandy picks up another huge home win over Missouri. Increasingly difficult to play it at Vanderbilt, it feels like. And Auburn absolutely runs over Kentucky at Rupp. So, Mike, all of those games being thrown out there, where do you want to start?
Well, we need to knock on the door of Peanut Buttered Fossey and see what he's feeling about this Auburn-Kentucky game. So, we can talk about the bad bubble losses later with Texas and Arkansas in the bubble watch section. So we'll start with Auburn over Kentucky. I mean, we already kind of mentioned off the forefront. Darren's mentioning it here. Janai Broome wasn't effective, and he still won by 16 on the road. That's how good Auburn is. Miles Kelly went crazy. He hit 9 3-pointers, scored 30 points. Kentucky, as per usual, could not stop anything, and it was really the guard play that hurt them. Baker Mazzara had 22. Pettiford had 21. I mean, that's got to be a great feeling for Auburn fans because we know they aren't going to see too many games where Janai Broome isn't dominating. And then for Kentucky fans, not only was the defense an issue, but they couldn't make any outside shots. And Jay, we talked about that for weeks about if they're not going to shoot anywhere that near their clip, it's just going to be tough because they're not playing any defense. Lamont Butler's obviously out there giving it his all, but he's on a bum shoulder. 4 for 13 from the field, 5 turnovers. We also got news that Jackson Robinson's out for the rest of the year. I mean, Williams, Brea, Carr, they all had nice games, but just the way this team profiles, like metrics-wise, I don't have a lot of confidence outside of a first-round win, man. So, yeah, I'm a little nervous about Kentucky going forward.
Who scares you more if you're like a 13 seed and you see either Kentucky or Michigan on your line? Which one of those teams scares you the most?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that scared of Kentucky right now. They can't stop anybody.
Right.
I mean, I know that, sometimes hyperbole, because sometimes we get these 13 and 14 seeds and we're like, oh, this could be the one, right? But that second round, if they get past that first round, it kind of reminds me of Kansas last year. Remember, we all picked Samford to beat Kansas, and then they lost because of a terrible foul call towards the end of the game, and then Kansas ends up getting crushed by Gonzaga, I think, the following round. So, yeah, man, I don't have a lot of confidence, but they can turn things around. We're going to talk about some teams that have turned things around, but it starts on the defensive end. It's Peter Butler-Poste's jumping in here, man. Look at that. It's right on time.
Yeah, his concerns, obviously, BYU, that machine is still rolling on as well-oiled as it was when he was there. Now, we've seen it, and we've talked about it on this show, the hot start, sort of slower finish. The team just sort of fades down the stretch under Pope. Is that the most concerning thing to you about this Kentucky team right now? Just they just don't look like – it looks like they're out of gas, man. And there's still 2 weeks before we even get to Selection Sunday. We're not even a conference tournament yet. And this team looks gassed, man. Is that just what it feels like to you too? And
I mean, no Kurt Kriisa?
Right.
No, I mean, Butler is not going to be 100% for the rest of the year. Jackson Robinson's gone. You're running out of options, man. I know Kobe Brea is a nice option. He had a nice game. But asking Carr to be your third option, I don't know, man. It just
but how do you beat anybody?
How
do you beat anybody when a guy like Janai Broome does almost nothing, but Baker Mazzara and Pettiford just have their way with anything that they want to do at all times? The Auburn ball boy might have actually put up 10 PK points if I look back and watch the tape.
Yeah,
they're not stopping anybody. It's got to be frustrating to watch from a Kentucky fan perspective. Yeah, Auburn, they're definitely talented, and it's going to be hard to not pick again.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Ja'Kai Howard and somebody, I can't remember who the second player was.
All that chemistry just wasn't going to happen there. Hey, speaking of chemistry, some of the best chemistry that you can probably have is getting some people together that for a March Madness brackets pool, right? We always do that this time of year. We love to fill out our brackets. There's only 2 weeks away from Selection Sunday, like we said. If you're planning on doing that, inviting all of your friends and coworkers and stuff like that, that's great. If you want to level up, though, this March and bring that chemistry level up even more, get over to BracketBids and start an auction draft league. That's right, an auction draft league. They're changing the game over there at BracketBids by bringing a fantasy sports aspect to the greatest tournaments in all the world. Why bid on those lowly 15 seeds in the auction? Well, because maybe Kentucky gets up against one of those lowly seeds, and who knows? Maybe that will help you win that league. Could be the ticket to winning your league. Set up your league for free to get your own league link and send out those invites, and then be sure to use the promo code BREAD for 40% off once you decide to activate those leagues. Download the app today, or go to BracketBids.com and level up this March. You can find that link in the description on YouTube. Make sure you get over to BracketBids.com and download the BracketBids app. Promo code BREAD, 40% off. Hey, we're very proud to partner with BracketBids, a new approach to March. Mike, And some of these teams are going to have to find a new approach when it comes to playing Vanderbilt, who's probably safely played their way into the tournament here. What an absolute incredible job by Coach Byington. And like I mentioned earlier, this is becoming just a difficult – you can't just go into Vandy and expect to get a dub anymore or not have a fight put up against you there. It's a hard place to win. We're just going to say it. It's a hard place to win. But grinding out a 97-93 victory in overtime shows us, Mike, what? Doesn't have that quit in them at all. Hoggard's turning out to be one of the best offseason pickups. That is not – we talked a lot about the portal in the offseason. I mentioned earlier how we're 365 here on One and Done. We talked about Hoggard, and, maybe we didn't even give him some of that shine that we should have. But he's turned out to be one of the best. And we talk about it like it's free agency, the pickup, right? It is what it is. And Hoggard has definitely paid dividends. So, Mike, anywhere else in the SEC you want to hit before we move on to the Big Ten? I was itching to get to Michigan earlier. I even brought them up in the SEC conference talk here. But anybody else in the SEC before we get to Michigan and the Big Ten?
Yeah, I mean, can't really move on without talking about the 33-footer that Jemai Meshack hit to get the Vols win over Bama. Of all people to hit that shot, Jemai Meshack did not see that. Didn't have that on the 2025 bingo card, but it felt like a Final Four game. Both teams super solid. Like Chaz Lanier obviously can be the X factor for Tennessee. Like his offense can be critical for their success going forward. Mark Sears played okay. I mean, played pretty good. But man, I don't know, man. It feels like Nate Oates, like they got to get Musa Diabate like 28 minutes. Like he has 125 offensive rating. He's slashing 60, 37, 63 in 15 minutes a game. So I just think he needs to be on the floor a little bit more. So we'll see what happens with that going forward. And this win actually gave Auburn the regular season title. So they were all celebrating. I think it was on the bus that I saw a video of them celebrating that Hail Mary shot.
Love to see those celebrations already start. It's in the algorithms right now. If you're spending any time on socials or on YouTube or whatever it is, you're starting to see all the college basketball stuff roll back through. All the podcasts are talking about it again, and we're starting to see a lot more of it. And yeah, we saw that shot plenty there, 33-footer there by Meshack, giving Tennessee that win over Alabama. All right, good stuff. Hey, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons if you're hanging out with us. We definitely appreciate everybody that's hanging out with us live. If you're watching later, maybe with your old morning coffee and some biscuits, if you will, tea and crumpets, whatever it is. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hop in the live chat if you're here live. If you're watching later, sprinkle in a comment. We want to know that you were here hanging out with us. Bama is going to be a tough out in March, Darren. I have no doubt about it. Mike, we got a Georgia question here. If they win their last two games and maybe one SEC tournament game, what do you think?
According to Lardy, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but their last four in right now. If they win their last two league games, they're in.
That's
that's in. Like, if they split, they're probably, just to be safe, going to need to win at least one tourney game. So that's where it's going to get. It's going to get messy. We're going to talk about this bubble here in just a little bit. Appreciate the question, though, Josh.
Yeah, good stuff, Josh. Basically, win 2 out of your next 3 if you're Georgia and you're in. That's what it feels like for sure. All right, hey, like and subscribe, and we're going to get to the Big Ten now, a conference that I have always shown great disdain for, but apparently could not help myself dropping some Michigan chat into the SEC talk. So what is a crumpet? Johnny K, tea and crumpet. What? Hey, don't put a tariff on One and Done just because I'm talking about stuff overseas. Okay, I'm sorry. Crumpets, whatever it is. It's sweet. It's okay. Let's get to Big Ten. All the Big Ten stuff from the weekend. Indiana continues to play well, a team that I didn't give a lot of credit to early on in the season, who has absolutely made me change my tune a little bit, grabbing that road win at Washington over the weekend. Michigan State holds off the Badgers in that top-ranked matchup today. Nebraska losing a critical game against Minnesota at home. Tough one for the Cornhuskers. And Illinois absolutely crushed Michigan on the road today. That's a game, Mike, that I know that they don't scare me. Like, that's why I was bringing up earlier, if Kentucky and Michigan end up on that 4 or 5 line or whatever, who is really scared Like there's going to be a team that's going to be one of the more popular upsets that we see. I feel like, or at least upset picks are against those teams. Mike, what about the Michigan stuff and just Big Ten in general? What are your thoughts on the conference from the past week?
Yeah, like last week I was on national radio talking about how great it was to have double bigs and how Maryland and Michigan are surging. And Michigan not surging right now. I didn't see this happening, especially on senior day. 93-73, getting beat by 20. And Yakashonis, I mean, he continues to struggle for Illinois. Like Trey White was the star, 19 points, 11 boards. We talked about how Yakashonis and the Pistons over the last couple of weeks, they need help, and the supporting cast has done nothing. Well, the supporting cast shined. Yeah, Trey White, Colin Boswell, and Will Riley were really the three best players in that game. So this Riley kid, though, he really opens up their offense on the wing. And then for Michigan, like, it's an awesome story seeing Golden's mom, first time they see him play in like 5 years. I mean, he had 22 and 9, but the rest of the team struggled. 22% from three. Danny Wolf continues to slump down the stretch, 9 points, 5 turnovers. They're not the same team, obviously, if only one of those bigs has it going, man. So, yeah, as of right now, we're seeing them go the opposite way of where we thought they were 2 weeks ago, which was on top of the Big Ten. So, yeah, here we go, right? Welcome to March.
Just like we see ebbs and flows, teams that go on runs in the middle of games, we also see that throughout the season, week by week, month by month. Some of these teams just, don't have it all together all the time. And that's okay. That's to be expected. Can you look a little bit better as the season winds down and as the conference tournament rolls around? We will see for Michigan. Right now, then I'm not worried about them. And it's going to take a couple of impressive performances the rest of the way out for me to even consider Michigan as a threat in March. It's going to be tough. A team that does strike my fancy a little bit more is Michigan State, looking like a team that can really make something happen beyond that first weekend. And Mike, you always like to say, like, once you get past the first weekend, it's all bets are off. Like if you make it to the Sweet 16, you're there, and anybody has a chance to do it from there. We do remember back the Spartans about mid-February having that bad loss to Indiana, but the run they've been on since it was bad, but the run they've been on since, won by 14 at Illinois, beat Purdue by 9, went back on the road and knocked off Michigan and Maryland, and then you got today's win over Wisconsin. 5th in defensive efficiency in the country. It doesn't matter that they're not the most talented team that Tom Izzo has had. Like that, it does not matter. And we've seen it year in and year out. Even when the talent isn't just stacked up, he finds a way to get the most out of his, he squeezes gets all of the juice out of the squeeze that he can. So Michigan State, obviously it's Izzo. So
it's not March, right? It's January, February.
January, February, Izzo. Exactly. Yeah. So anything else in this conference before we move on, Mike?
I mean, I guess we mentioned Indiana. I mean, just surging right now. It's been pretty impressive. So definitely we give some coaches some hard times, especially Whitson over the last couple of years, but as of right now, they're safely in. So, and then this Nebraska loss, we'll kind of talk about that during Bubble Watch. Cam's kind of jumping in there talking about, UNC is better than Nebraska and Arkansas, but I don't think any of the three should be in. So we'll definitely hit on that. I don't agree with a couple. I do agree with you on a couple of those. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Jay, why don't we slide over to that Big 12?
Yeah, the team that has formerly held the title of toughest conference in the land on a night in and night out basis. But Mike, you talked about it earlier. The SEC just given us, what felt like Final Four type atmosphere. Not to say that there haven't been some big game feel type of atmospheres in the Big 12. Texas Tech is one of those teams that's just had the rocket ship tied to them all season long, and they handed Kansas another loss. Iowa State hammered Arizona. Iowa State, a team that I've liked all season long, despite some of their. That's another team. That's an ebb and flow team right there that we've seen it. But Iowa State absolutely beat up the Arizona Wildcats. And then, as Peanut Butter Posse mentioned earlier, BYU surging to their 6th win in a row after beating West Virginia, Mountain Mama. All right, that's enough of that. Let's start with Kansas, Mike. I thought I saw somebody say earlier in the chat that KU is like one and done. Oh, yeah. So you said Darren was saying KU and UK. So Kansas and Kentucky one and done in the tournament. Start with Kansas, Mike. What's the deal on and off the court with the Jayhawks?
Yeah, well, last night Zeke Mayo's blasting tweets with screen caps of fans harassing him, and Bill Self goes on later on to release a statement. It's pretty dramatic right now for a team that's in the tournament, essentially. So, I mean, I know they were preseason number one. I know they were supposed to be a 1 or a 2 seed. We all hailed the portal. They were winners in the portal. Rylan Griffin, he's played better lately, but he just hasn't been the Rylan Griffin from Alabama. AJ Storer hasn't worked out. He's more suited to be like an inefficient number one option, right? You just put guys around him. Coit tried to make the big jump. It just Harrison Adams, they've kind of hit their ceilings as players, man. So there's just not a lot to really get excited about for Kansas. But it's not going to surprise me. Bill Self, right? If they make the Sweet 16, would not shock me at all. So we see this all the time. There seems that nobody, people that we don't like them coming to the end of the year, and then all of a sudden they're in the Elite Eight. And then there's teams that we think are one of the Elite Eight that lose in the first round. So kind of one of those things. Let's see if he can rally the troops around. And then Tech, they're just a really good team, man. Like you were mentioning, they've been on that rocket ship. The metrics love them. 7th on KenPom. 7th ranked on KenPom. So going to be a popular pick during the tourney. So both teams kind of headed in opposite directions here, Jay. But I wanted to get your thoughts on, you've been touting Iowa State, man, for the last month. So what are your thoughts about this bounce back?
Yeah, a couple losses there. Needed a bounce back for sure, and they got that 84-67 over Arizona. They dealt with some injuries in conference play. Obviously, Momcilovic and Gilbert both banged up throughout, but now everybody is healthy again, and it showed. Like the record with and without Momcilovic is night and day. He matters, so whether or not it's all statistics or just what he brings to that team in general on the floor. He's super important, and Gilbert as well. So I've been saying this, Texas Tech's the same way in this regard, but nobody wants to play Iowa State in the tournament. Not a healthy Iowa State. Nobody wants to meet this team at all. So despite, talking a little bit about how the Big 12 on the whole might be down, there's still 3 or 4 teams in this conference that you just look, if they're in your region, you're just like, shit, like,
absolutely.
These are teams that you don't want to have to play until the second, maybe even third weekend. But Iowa State's, BYU and Iowa State matching up this week, man. Like it's
gonna be a good game, man.
It's gonna be a good one, man. What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, what Kevin Dunn, man, that's local Austin radio from back in the day.
Real world alumni there too with the Miz.
Oh my goodness.
That's another show.
That's hilarious. But what he's done, Kevin Young has done at BYU, has been pretty remarkable. I think he deserves Big 12 Coach of the Year consideration. Richie Saunders playing some really good ball. They're kind of like Michigan State. Like they play a ton of guys. They don't really have any superstars. The difference is they're not as good defensively as Michigan State is, but I argue offensively they're a lot better, stemming from Young's time with the Suns and in the NBA. So BYU, man, they're surging right now. So they're going to be excited to see where they land when the brackets come out.
No doubt about it. Bunch of tough teams in that conference still. Iowa State getting a convincing win over the Wildcats that they very sorely needed. The live chat is still cooking there. Darren making sure that he shows love. RIP Gene Hackman. I in and out of stuff for the last week or so, but saw Gene Hackman pass, and I immediately knew I had to tweet something about the replacements. That's my Gene Hackman.
Such a good movie.
That's my Gene Hackman go-to for sure. But maybe a run by the Hoosiers. Who knows? But yeah, Darren saying that the Cougars are sort of taking over all the Cougars, right? If you're a Cougar, if your mascot is Cougars in the Big 12, you are good in that conference. You are doing just fine. Okay, Ty. Our friend Ty is back. Ty Nedick in there. Crybaby Izzo. Okay, come on, Ty. Let's be nice now. He's doing a lot with not a lot. He's doing a lot with not a lot up there right now. But it's always good to see our friend Ty in the chat. Yeah,
culture, Johnny K. Culture.
Yeah, I mean it's just talk about it. We talked about BYU being a well-oiled machine. The other Cougars in that conference, what Samson has over there, just every year.
Yeah,
you don't want to basically you avoid everybody that they play against from a DFS perspective.
Yeah.
If you're hanging out with us tonight and you're not familiar, we do DFS shows all year round too. So hit the subscribe button if you want to get some DraftKings info. We'll hit a couple of those at least in the upcoming week. But just from a general basketball perspective, Johnny, you're right. It doesn't even matter. A player of that talent, gone, and they just look like they're a menace. That's all. Houston is a menace. That's a team that that's the top of the cream of the crop of a team that I don't want my team to play in March, because basically it's going to be first to 60. And if you can, and you're not going to score 60 on them. Okay, so you lose. That's how that goes. All right, good stuff. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. Keep the live chat rolling. We definitely appreciate everybody for hanging out with us, pushing all the buttons. Got a nice community here in the live chat, the liveliest live chat in all the land. So make sure you hop in there. We're going to get to the ACC tie, but first let's get to the Big East and some Saturday action there. St. John's locking up the outright crown. Xavier making their case with a win over Creighton. Villanova taking care of business, and UConn a win that they needed at Providence. So let's start with Pitino, man. I got to give him props, right? Yeah. It only took him 2 years, not even 2 full years, to turn this thing around. You've been a little critical. I'm gonna put you on the spot. So this is Johnny on the spot. I'm gonna put Mike on the spot. You've been critical about their ability to make outside shots, but Houston defensive toughness. Look how tough the Johnnies are defensively, and it's not like they don't have that individual talent on offense either, Mike. So really interested to see where the Johnnies end up seated on the bracket. What else anything you want to touch on with the Johnnies and anything else in the Big East, man?
Yeah, man. I just worry about their profile. I know the defense, it's going to be there. But I just don't like these teams like St. John's and Texas A&M, man. Like, they just can't consistently make open threes. Now, if you stop somebody from scoring, then making twos is fine. But sometimes in the tournament, man, especially with these mids that have nothing to lose, or even obviously you get to the second, third round and it's a second, third matchup, catch somebody that's, a little bit on fire, then I could see one of those two teams having some problems early in the tournament. But UConn riding this roller coaster right now. Talked about on the DFS show, man. They need Terrace Reed. They need Terrace Reed so much. I just blabbered on about it, and then I only played him on like 2 of my 10 lineups. And then he goes out and has 24 points and 18 rebounds. Like, they need him for this offense to work. Caravan, Samson Johnson, like, they can't create offense. Diarra isn't really a primary offensive weapon. So unless like McGeely's running around going crazy from the outside, or Solo Ball just has one of those days, this thing isn't as efficient as it needs to be on offense. I think you have to have Terrace Reed in the game for 30, 35 minutes, man. Michael Peterson saying if they get to a 7 seed, they're gonna. I'm still not there because they can't defend anybody. Terrace Reed actually makes them pretty poor defensively, which is why he wasn't starting. Samson Johnson is basically like playing 4-on-5 on offense. So they got to try to outscore Team Shea, otherwise it's going to be over pretty quickly. And one of the ways they can do that is by unleashing Terrace Reed, who had a really good game inside against St. John's. So it's not like he's doing this against a weakened Providence team, but man, he's shown it all year when he's been on the floor. So I think we'll see Hurley make that adjustment. I think you'll see Terrace Reed a lot more than what we've seen him, more of a 30-plus minute role going forward for them to have success.
Yeah, I don't care what seed they are. I don't want to play Dan Hurley in the first round of the tournament.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Giving him that time to prepare, I don't. A second round matchup, okay. I might not be as quick to jump on UConn there, but you give Dan Hurley 5 days to prepare for a first round tournament game. I think they'll handle that just fine. But we'll see, man. Who knows? Like you said, who are they going to stop? If some team can get hot, they're not stopping anybody. It's tough, but they're in. They just got to figure out a way to tighten it up a little bit. Johnny K saying he's glad his Johnnies are safely in this year. Now to see what seed it is. Yeah, we'll see.
Definitely safely in.
No doubt about it. Thanks for hanging out, Johnny. Always good to see you in the live chat. Good to see everybody, even our friend Mr. Brooks hopping in there. all of the classics are in the live chat right now. I didn't expect it to go flash on the screen, but here we are. Anyway, good to see you, Mr. Brooks, hanging in the chat. Hit all the like and subscribe buttons, notification bells. You don't want to miss anything that we're doing, especially the live chat on a night like tonight. But let's get to the ACC, Mike. In the pre-show, Eric the Blue at Fantasy Nav in those Twitter streets was saying how maybe it felt like a little bit of a subtle shot talking about the ACC last night. I don't think it's so. I don't think we have to pretend like we're excited to talk about, how deep the ACC is, because it's not. But there's still some competitive ball being played and some spots being jockeyed for here. All the Saturday action in the conference this week. Louisville delivering that final nail in the coffin for Pitt, and that'll do it. That's turn out the lights, the party's over. North Carolina, easy win over Miami. SMU taking that tough loss at Stanford. Duke keeps chugging along with a 35-point win over Florida State. Wake stays alive on the bubble. The Fighting Tim Duncans get that win over the actual Fighting Irish. And then Clemson wins ugly at Virginia. Any win at Virginia will be ugly, guaranteed. And Clemson proved that on their own. Where do you want to start in the ACC, Mike?
Man, UNC, Cam, you still with us? Basically, their season comes down to, unless they do something in the conference tournament, which means like win the conference tournament, basically comes down to a home game against Duke next Saturday. So we're not going to profile them in our bubble watch, but we are talking Wake Forest. You could throw some wrench in those plans this week coming up. But we get some props to Pat Kelsey, man. They're still alive for the league crown along with Clemson. They're only one game behind Duke, both of these teams. So it's just hard to gauge this team because we saw them really only get one quality win in the non-con. That was against Indiana, who's been basically a bubble team for the entire season. So they did play some tough teams. It's not like they didn't schedule teams, but Tennessee beat them by 22, Ole Miss by 23. They played Duke tough. Only lost by 9. Kentucky only lost by 8, but still, like, we haven't seen them outside the ACC. And I know we can say this about, it's like, Duke, okay, we lost to Kansas. You know what I mean? So it's just more of a question, right? And this is going to be something that's going to be talked about throughout the entire month of March is the ACC battle tested? Did those league games even matter? We've already kind of talked about it, but it's just that conversation is never going to end, at least for this year. And it feels like it's just a continuation of last year. So I think obviously Louisville has enough tools to potentially get more than one win, man. But outside of Duke, man, it's kind of tough. And Darren, I think, asking how many teams are getting in. I think Lenardi has 3 getting in. It's going to be Clemson, Louisville, and Duke, because everybody else that has SMU's been on the bubble. Wake is on the bubble. So these teams are just not getting those quality wins because you have to beat Clemson, Louisville, or Duke. And then when you have 17 other teams you have to play, you only get typically one opportunity to play the team. And so, it's scheduling comes into play. So it's kind of a mess here, man. What are your thoughts about this conference and who you want to profile?
Well, Cam bringing up the fact that UNC looks like a good enough team to be in, but against the league competition, like you said, and it's like in the SEC, every night feels like a Sweet 16 type of environment. You got a quad 1 game. Oh, you didn't have one tonight? You'll have one on Saturday. Okay, it's happening. So you have those chances to build a resume and really prove yourself. It's tough for a team on the bubble like UNC that, to the eye test, you might think, oh, that's a tournament team. Their resume might not necessarily reflect that. So, we'll see how it goes. We can't talk about ACC without talking about Duke, though. And Cooper Flagg, eye poke, right? I said in the pre-show stuff to put the Hakeem Olajuwon the goggles on him, like when Hakeem got poked in the early '90s, and just let Flagg go out there and wreck people, like Hakeem did. It didn't matter. Duke still won by 4 dozen. It was a lot. 3 dozen, whatever. 40, basically a 40 burger. Better. Top 5 in offensive and defensive efficiency. Once you get to this point in the season, Mike, it's just like in football, but you talk about a lot of time you get to a bowl game, those freshman players are not freshmen anymore. And it's the same in college basketball. You get to this point in the tournament, they're not freshmen anymore. The emergence of Isaiah Evans late in the year could be huge for Duke. For sure. Now they just need Proctor. We'll see what his injury status is over the next week. If it is, how big of a factor is Proctor's health for you for Duke to make a run here?
I mean, yeah, it's a blow, man. Like, he's got experience in the tournament, man. So losing that, it would be pretty tough. So yeah, we'll be paying attention to see, he hasn't been ruled out for, the year or anything like that. So they just need to rest. Hopefully he gets healthy over the next couple of weeks, but it would be a blow.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would completely shut off the ceiling to a national championship, especially with how Isaiah Evans is playing, and they have depth this year. So that's one of the things that they didn't have last year. So yeah, I still like them, man. Their profile is crazy. Like, this is them and Auburn. They're two of the best teams in the Ken Palm era, like two of the top 10 teams in the Ken Palm era. So yeah, you have to like both teams, which means they'll probably both lose in the first 2 rounds. Typically how that type of stuff goes, but we'll see.
Yeah, that just means I'm going to go over to BracketBids and spend like half of my salary on Auburn for them to lose in the first round. But hey, why not? And if you go over to BracketBids or BracketBids.com, you should make sure you use the promo code BREAD for 40% off of your league activation fees over there. Auction, fantasy style drafts where you got to outsmart and outwit everybody in your league. So make sure you get over to BracketBids.com or download the BracketBids app. Promo code BREAD for 40% off. Maybe UNC will hire Phil Jackson like they did Belichick. Not the worst idea there, Mr. Brooks. Why not? I mean, I can't wait to watch that Hard Knocks that they're gonna have through there. Like, what a time to be alive. I mean, what a time to be alive. Johnny, I don't think you're alone in that. It's hard on a night in and night out basis to get fired up about the ACC. All we're talking about is North Carolina and Duke, really. I mean,
and so the Louisville comeback.
Louisville, right?
Would Louisville have the same type of season? And if this wasn't the state of the conference, I don't know. I mean, it's not to take anything away. You've obviously got to win the games, right? It's not.
Hey, would Messi have scored all those goals if he was in the Premier League? No, okay, all right, different conversation. Battle tested.
Russell Westbrook have triple doubles in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, make sure you hit all those buttons, like and subscribe. Notification bells. You don't want to miss anything that we're doing, including one of my favorite segments that we do here on the show. It's time for Mike and the Mid-Major Minute.
All right, on this edition of the Mid-Major Minute, I am letting you guys know, and gals, about the conferences and the conference tournaments that I am watching very, very closely and players to watch in these conference tournaments. So we'll start with the Missouri Valley. You have Drake and Bradley once again looking to fight it out to see who is going to make it to the NCAA tournament. But look out for Northern Iowa, Belmont, and Illinois State. Players to watch, Bennett Sturridge from Drake. He's been awesome this year. Got to catch him a few times on TV here, man. 19 points per game, almost 5 boards, 6 assists. Just a great player. Titan Anderson from Northern Iowa is a guy that's been around for a while. 15.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. I really like the way this Northern Iowa team plays. But I think it's going to come down to Drake and Bradley once again as the Missouri Valley. Very strong. And then the Big West here, 2 teams at the very top here, UC San Diego and UC Irvine. But we can't forget about CSUN, UC Riverside, and UC Santa Barbara. They're all top 150 teams in Ken Palm and could potentially get that bid to the NCAA tournament. Now, Anwania Tate Jones, if you haven't heard of him, this dude is a baller for UC San Diego, 20 points a game, 5 boards, nearly 3 assists. He is a lot of fun to watch. Barrington Hardgrist from UC Riverside, averaging 20 points per game and 4 assists. So we'll see. I think a lot of people obviously think like in the MVC that it's going to come down to how Drake and Bradley in the final here as we have UC San Diego and UC Irvine, 2 of the better teams in the conference. The Sun Belt. Man, this conference had not 1, not 2, not 3. They had 4 teams finished all at 13-5. And then you have 3 other teams that realistically could win this conference tournament with Marshall, Appalachian State, and Texas State just down the street from us. They're all definitely in play. Tate and Conaway from Troy, having a great season, 13 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals. And then Terran Todd for Arkansas State, player to check out, 15 points per game, 5 boards, 3 assists. Miles Tate from Appalachian State, got to see him the other day, 16.5 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, a really good player out there for App State. The Horizon League, you got Robert Morris, who came through. We did not have that on our bingo card in the preseason. Milwaukee, Cleveland State, Youngstown State in the mix as well. And then a sneaky Purdue-Fort Wayne team who we really liked in the preseason with their guard play. But you look at Alvaro Folgueras from Robert Morris. He is a big-time forward, averaged 14 points, nearly 10 rebounds, almost 3 stocks per game. And you have Jalen Jackson for Purdue-Fort Wayne, who wouldn't surprise me if they come out of this league. He averaged nearly 20 points per game, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him playing at a power conference level next year. And the final conference we'll talk about, and one that I'll be watching really closely during the spring break, will be the MAC with Akron, who kind of ran away with this league. Typically, it's between Akron, Kent State, and Toledo. Kent State and Toledo, down years by their standards. You also have Miami of Ohio finishing second this year in the regular season. But Nate Johnson for Akron, he's been awesome, averaging 13 points, 5 boards, 3 assists. But look out, Von Cameron Davis is a name and a guy that's played in the NCAA tournament for Kent State, 15 points per game, 3 boards, and 2 assists. And then we also have to mention McNeese and Grand Canyon. It feels like we haven't talked about them in forever. So McNeese in the Southland and Grand Canyon in the WAC. Can they follow through on preseason expectations? I'm not so sure, but they're not quite the top 25 teams. But if they get into the tournament, they have the talent to take down a 2 or a 3 seed. So having said that, that's going to conclude our mid-major minute.
Vibing over here. It's a jam. Love me a good mid-major minute. Mike's mid-major minute. I love that segment as much as I love alliteration right there. So, oh my God. Hey, we got to stop before we do anything else.
Yeah.
Look who's in the chat. It's Sam the Sniper. War Damn Eagle. Indeed. Sam, good to see you, man. Good stuff. Always
Long
good to
time.
see Sam the Sniper in the chat. Mike, great stuff there with the mid-major minutes. How about some AAC talk in the chat? Darren talking about Lil Penny and Memphis maybe having to settle for an at-large after Darren's UNT bounces them in the AAC championship game.
Possibly. That would be a bid stealer because Memphis is getting in.
Yeah, they're getting in for sure. Those two teams have been fighting it out at the top of that conference all season. That's good stuff there. Johnny K saying he likes Bradley, having some nice teams over the years. Babu, hello, Babu. So good to see you there in the live chat. Man, all the OGs are coming out of the woodwork tonight. We definitely appreciate it. We know, I agree. Conference strength does not necessarily equate to championships. But again, like, at some when it comes down to making being on the bubble like a UNC, it does not help them, for sure. So, Darren saying Austin P. Okay, Darren. All right, my friend. I actually that's right up my alley. So I'm not mad at that at all. Let's go P. Let's go P. Why not? Hey, Sunbelt as well. Listen, like, Texas State is not afraid to go out and score 80 or 90 on you. They will. I saw them play quite a bit this year. I'm a season ticket holder for Texas State. When Tyra Morgan and Tylen Pope are both hitting shots like they were, the problem is they'll go cold from 3, or they'll miss free throws down the stretch. And that's what Texas State is usually their Achilles heel right there. They just go cold and they won't stop shooting. Try to shoot themselves out of a slump, and not necessarily always happening down there for the Bobcats. But yeah, they'll be good. That Sun Belt tournament, that's one of the more unique tournaments in college basketball for sure. Always fun to see how that one unravels. Let's get to the bubble watch before we get out of here. The bubble watch. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. Mike, as of this morning, and Joe Lenardi. Let's talk about the multi-bid conferences, at least in his projections here. SEC getting 13 teams in. Yeah, 13. Makes sense. Big Ten now getting 11 in. Big 12 getting 8. So there's a lot of new numbers we're saying here. Let's just go. SEC gets 13. Big 10 gets 11. Big 12 gets 8. Big East with 4. Mountain West with 3. And then let's talk about the ACC with the 3 bids and the WCC with 2 as well. Those are obvious, right? Somebody else wins that WCC conference. I mean, it'd be a bid steal. They'd be getting 3 in, 4. Sure. Mike, the last 4 in, according to Lenardi, were Georgia, Arkansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma, 3 of which took L's over the weekend. First 4 out: Boise State, Xavier, North Carolina, and Texas. Next 4 out: Wake Forest, SMU, Cincinnati, and Villanova. So we love us some bubble watch. Mike, where do you want to start on this one?
Let's jump back into the SEC. Arkansas. That was a bad loss. Like, what was that on Saturday? They're 17-12 now in the year, 6-10 in the SEC, 47th in net ranking. They're 4-9, so 4 quad 1 wins. But you're on the bubble, and then you proceed to get blown out by South Carolina. It was not a great look. These are the types of games you have to avoid. All eyes on it, right, for Arkansas here, and that's what happened. So 2 critical games coming up here, Jay, to end the year at Vanderbilt. So obviously they win that game. Everybody forgets about the blowout to South Carolina, and then they finish up with Mississippi State. So, yeah, two quad 1 opportunities right there to finish up the season for Arkansas. And, I'll be watching closely, man, because that was a terrible loss. But who do you want to touch on here, Jay?
Let's go Villanova, currently 51st in net rating, quad 1 wins. They are 2-6 for their record. The tricky thing here, those 2 quad 3 losses, but it's not just that, Mike. It's the quad 4 loss that sticks out like a sore thumb as well. They need this road win at Georgetown. And they're probably one of those teams that needs a big win in the Big East tournament, in the conference tournament in general, but for them, obviously, the Big East tournament, to have a shot at getting in. And I think it's going to take more than that. They need to go on a run in this Big East tournament and maybe even make the final, man. But, it's not – there's on the far end, obviously, the next 4 out, the 8th team before getting into the tournament. And they did pick up a win over the weekend, but, I mean, they got to make a run of the tournament, man.
Yeah, I hear that, man. Wake Forest is another team that who wants the 4th bid out of the ACC? Like, SMU didn't really want it. Like, now we're sitting here with Wake Forest, 20-9, 12 wins in the ACC, 69th in the net. Like, so 12 wins in the ACC and you're 69th in the net. Well, that's because you're 2-6 in quad 1. No quad 3 or 4 losses like Villanova, so that helps your case there. But here's the ACC conundrum that we've been talking about. They just have those 2 quad 1 ACC wins, and hey, they're in if they beat Duke tomorrow on the road. It also, again, this would be a massive blow to UNC if they win that game. Even if UNC were to beat Duke, like, it's just resume to resume, man. I don't know. The committee still probably put North Carolina in, but man, UNC probably have to win the ACC tournament to get in, because I got to believe that if Wake Forest, goes on the road and beats Duke, that they're going to be in the tournament with this resume. We got the chat talking a lot about Xavier here, Jay. 19-10, so 11-7 in the Big East. Their net rating 49th, only 1 quad 1 win. They're 1-9 in the quad 1. They got their must win over Creighton this weekend, but they finished with Butler and Providence, so not much help. But a loss could probably end all this talk. So they definitely got to finish up strong. And then I think they got some work to do in the Big East tourney. Anybody else you want to mention here, Jay? Maybe a team closer to our hearts here.
You can do that to me. No, listen, if the last time I was on the Sunday show, I believe I got to do my conductor's corner, and I laid it out there about Rodney Terry. And I've never really hidden my feelings about Rodney Terry not necessarily being the right guy for the job here in Austin, but getting blown out by Georgia at home, that probably did it. Like that, if they don't win the SEC tournament, which they're not going to, like Georgia, like these are 2 ships passing in the night, right?
Yep.
Like Georgia's probably in now. Georgia's probably in thanks to that Texas win. and Texas is probably out without a conference tournament win. So I don't know, man. Like, do you think Georgia's safe? Like, they could
It feels
be.
like it. It feels like it. A little more work to do for them just to be safe, but I think if it started today, I think they would get in. I think that was huge. Lenardi was saying that he might not even have them in the last four. He might have just had them just in. So they had to feel good about where they're at. Nebraska, though, I put out a tweet right before we came on. I don't know if I agree with this. They've lost 3 in a row. Why are they in the last 4 in? 2 of those losses were to Penn State, and then you lost to Minnesota. So I don't know why they're in. That's pretty weird to me. But, hey, man, we got conference tournaments over the next couple of weeks. We got big games coming up this week to finish the regular season and the call it the Power 5 stuff. We got Big East, as a power conference in basketball. So that P5 action going on, man, I'm excited. So, hey, man, here we go, down the home stretch.
Darren chiming in saying that the Longhorns might make a long NIT run. Hey, I remember they put an NIT banner up in the Irwin Center. I remember being at that first round game, went with my buddy our buddy Zach. Sat like 5 rows behind the bench and watched them play North Dakota in an arena that held like 24,000 people before it was demolished. There were probably 2,500 people in that building that day, max, for that first round NIT game that they won, obviously. But I don't know, Darren. I don't even, honestly, it would be one of those things where that's the thing right there. It's like, does Terry stay on for an NIT run and then you fight? I don't think it matters. These hypotheticals are not things that we're going to have to worry about because this team can't get out of their own way. And it appears that Rodney Terry couldn't coach his way out of a wet paper bag at this point. I'm not, again, great dude, sure. I mean, that's the caveat that a lot of people are making in Austin. Great guy, got paid a lot. Now let's go. Let's go. Yes, Cam. I wasn't even going to bring up UNC's quad one losses from 7 or fewer points. Yeah, UNC. That's a struggle for them, Mike. Like when you look at their quad one record too, like it's not like they're beating the brakes off of anybody and have taken advantage of those wins when they had the chance. So
Wake Forest, North Carolina have that opportunity against Duke here in the final stretch here, man. One of those gets it, and you got one of those 2 teams I feel like is in. But they should be in. Yeah, so, simple as that. Who's going to beat Duke?
Yeah, I don't know. Who's going to beat Duke in general?
There's no way. Does Duke just kind of like relax toward the end? Like they can't because they're only 1 game up on Clemson and Louisville. So, yeah, the ACC being so weak, you got 3 teams at the top that have 5 combined losses in an 18-team league.
Do you think that Duke cares about the ACC tournament?
Man, they were talking about this the other day on TV. Like the SEC, they were saying, "Why do you want to win the SEC?" It seems like every time you win like one of these grueling tournaments, you're like get bounced in the first round. Auburn won the SEC last year, and got bounced by Yale, Danny Wolf and Yale, first round.
Danny Wolf.
I mean, you're playing like 3 games and 3. I don't know, man. Like, I think that everything should kind of be settled for the most part, except for the bubble teams in the tournament. Like, I don't think these other teams should really care that much about the conference tournament. Like, it doesn't. I got to change my opinion on a 1-game sample, But the bubble teams, I want to see what they do. You know what I mean? They play each other typically in the first round. So, yeah, that means a lot more to me than who wins it.
Might have been North Dakota State, Ryan, that they beat. Maybe not North Dakota. It was one of those. It was some team from way up north that should not be on a floor with Texas, with a program that has as much money as Texas basketball has in a postseason game in front of 1,500 people. Now the attendance is going down every time I talk about it, but that's okay. That was such a sad ass arena, dude. Like that was so bad. But anyways, it's March Madness time, Mike. We're there. We got 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, if you're watching live. So it's Election Sunday. So if you're hanging out with us exactly 2 weeks from now, we'll be talking about what the bracket looks like, making some quick picks, breaking down all of the regions here on One and Done. So make sure you hit all those like and subscribe buttons. All right, Mike. all of a sudden, the idea, man, peanut butter posse hopping in before we get
No.
out of here. I am against tournament expansion.
Same.
I think 68 is pushing it, but would this be a way to? I mean, we just talked about how it shouldn't matter, and the only people that it matters to are those people that like Texas, that has to make a run in the conference tournament in order to even make this tournament. So I think it might take away from the game a little bit. Babu bringing in the mini tournament with the last 4 in and the first 4 out and only the winner. See, that is the type of innovation I'm talking about, dude. Because there's going to be some hungry teams right there. And it won't necessarily, hopefully, this is the thing, is that should include like all of the teams that were going to be the play-in, like the 10 seed play-in that who showed up last year. Virginia scored like 48 points. Like, let's do it.
Why stop there, dude? We should be able to like have these teams battle out and like offer up like a game show. Like, I'll offer my 3 quad 2s for one of your quad 1 if we win this game. You know what I mean? Like, make it like Jeopardy. Like, we're
dude, you're describing like Mario Party Jamboree where you put stars on the line in a duel or some coins or something like that. We're talking Nintendo stuff there. I love it though. Why not? No, please no more expansion.
Why stop there?
Please no more expansion. Please no more. I'm with Cam. CT Huggin, C Thuggin, Cam, whatever you want to call him. No more expansion, and I'm with that for sure. Squid Game. See, I knew Eric hopping in. I knew somebody was going to either say Squid Games or Hunger Games or something like that. Like
True TV.
We can volunteer. Who can we? We can volunteer. Let's volunteer Villanova as tribute, and we can just put them out there. Sorry to my Nova
on the Ocho.
On the Ocho for True TV. Hey, whatever it is, we're gonna watch it. That's what we do around here. And we also love the live chat, which was filled tonight with some of the OGs, some of the new Gs, all the Gs in the chat. Johnny K, Darren, Cam, Sam the Sniper making an appearance, Babu, Peanut Butter Posse, Mr. Brooks, Ty, Nedick hopping in there, Michael P, Josh G, and of course our guy Ryan hopping here at the end. Ryan hopping in the live chats. It's a good time to talk about BracketBids one more time. BracketBids.com or the BracketBids app. Download the BracketBids app today or go to BracketBids.com and use the promo code BREAD for 40% off of your league activation fees. Fantasy auction style drafts for March Madness. That's right. Shake it up, level up in March, and use BracketBids to do just that with the promo code BREAD. Yeah, hey, I'm down. We could give them the rights. Stream expansion tournament games on the One and Done YouTube channel. Hey, what's our number right now? Speaking of
the thing with even, how like they go 10 minutes after, like the game's supposed to start at 8, like the games don't start at 8:10. Dude, ours wouldn't start till like 40 minutes. People be wondering where the game's at. Like
they'll be here eventually, just like we always are. Period. We're always going to show up. It's because it says it on there. We says One and Done 8:30. We're going to be on. It might be 8:42. 8:50. We're going to be on.
It's perfect.
But that's why it's important that you have the notification bells on, right? So when we go live, you can hang out with us. We will have another MC Holland Invitational tournament here on the way soon.
One and Done Invitational tournament.
Oh, it's One and Done Invitational by MC Holland 34. That's what it is. Okay. 1,383 subs. We're on our way to the moon here. Make sure you push all those buttons. Follow at One and Done CBB on all the socials. At Fantasy Nav in those Twitter streets. Eric the Blue pushing buttons tonight. At The Real Napier, also doing things. CC Hustle behind the scenes. El Capitan himself at MC Holland 34 on X. That's Mr. Mike Holland, the OG Money Mike. Make sure you tell somebody that you care about them. Tell somebody that you love them. Take care of yourself. Most importantly, it is a suggested time. It's suggested launch time right there. As Cam said, it's sort of suggested. The tourney formerly known as the Mike Holland Invitational. Pretty soon, we're just going to have it's going to be a symbol like Prince. We're just going to post a symbol. And it's going to be, I don't know what that is because I can't read it. Is it a picture that got dropped in there from the thing? I just see a link right there.
with a pink hand waving by, I think.
Bye. Thanks, Darren, for hanging out with us. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us on a Sunday night. If you're watching later on a Monday or Tuesday, whenever it is, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. Tell somebody you love them. BracketBids.com is the place to be if you're not hanging out with One and Done on YouTube. My ladies and gents, my broskies and broskets, it's March, and I am JAYHEINRICH. Come again. Peace.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.